you would have think I had donated a kidney.
Yeah.
His reaction was like, "You're a champion. You're a champion, mate. I'm buying you a pint." You know, I was like, "Okay, it's just a picture."
Yeah.
You know, I'm very sorry for your loss. He was a good man. A good man. Shut up.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for chatting with me.
My pleasure.
This is such a fun project. What made you decide to go, hell yes, I'm going to get involved with this Uber campaign?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So I don't know the Uber Aussie spots, the other spots from them. Although actually I kind of do because I saw a couple of them when they.
Yeah.
But I certainly know the American
Yeah.
Uber Eats spots, and they're great. They're fun. They're well done. So.
Yep.
I was thrilled, and I said, "Well, what's the idea?"
Yeah.
And then, rather brilliant, the idea of the canned laughter idea.
Yeah.
So it was an easy yes.
Yeah, it's really clever. What are your kind of parameters? I imagine you have so many things thrown at you, projects, different things. How do you decide on a project, basically? What are your decision making? What are your goes and no goes kind of thing?
Okay. So I'm going to give you the honest answer.
Yeah.
You ready?
Go for it.
It is very flattering when people go, "How do you choose your projects? How do you, of all the things that come your way, how do you choose?" There are about 20 people in Hollywood that are actually choosing between different projects. The rest of us are going, "You want me? Oh my gosh, that's so sweet." Unless it's porn or working with, Satan, we generally go, "Well, that sounds like it could be fun." The truth is, most of the stuff that I get offered is fun to begin with. It generally comes from people that I'd be happy to work with.
Yeah.
And it has a good spirit to it.
Yeah.
If it's commercial stuff, it's like, well, what's the product? Is it actually something that helps people? Is it a good thing, a good company? So they're easy decisions.
Yeah.
They're not, it's very rare that I get offered anything, be it a commercial or a film or whatever it is, where you have to agonize over, should I do this?
Yeah.
What is the value to mankind? Of
Yeah.
It's at this point in my life, I'm just going, is it going to be, am I going to work with good people? Am I going to have a good experience? Can I do a good job? Is it worth doing?
Yeah.
And if all that is a yes,
then
let's do it.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Before we started rolling, we were chatting about how I heard that you have been to Australia because I've heard of someone who approached you and said that you were lovely. Do you have any fun stories from your time in Australia?
Well, many, but the one that I always think is like, it gives you the character of Australia in a nutshell, is I was at the Crown Casino in Melbourne, and I was just waiting with a couple other people, nobody I knew, for a seat at a poker table to open up. Lovely guy standing on line next to me, and he's with his teenage son, and he says, he's very nice, and he said, "Sorry to bother you, mate. Son's a big fan. Would you mind, take a pic, And I go, "Yeah, sure, absolutely, please, come on."
Yeah.
That's all that happened, right? You would have think I had donated a kidney.
Yeah.
His reaction was like, "You're a champion. You're a champion, mate. I'm buying you a pint." I was like, "Okay, it's just a picture."
Yeah.
Just being sure. Where's that?
Yeah.
There's many things about the Australian character that I really like.
Yeah.
But that is one of them, and that is that this idea that people who have somehow achieved some sort of notoriety or success, if they act like a regular human being, there's an appreciation of that. I don't think there should be. I think we should all be acting like human beings. But there's something very sweet when someone does that, and you go, "Oh, well, okay. We're all just people."
Yeah,
so.
no, that's it.
But it's a lovely attribute of a lot of Australians.
And you would have made their lives, made their days with that. And it's just so easy to be kind, basically. It just shows. But not everyone is. So that is lovely that you are. Speaking of characters, one of the most iconic ones of all time you brought to life, George. And I imagine he's such a powerful force. Do you still feel parts of him within you? Is he kind of hard to shake? Is it at all? No? Do you ever feel like him come out, like are you ever in line at a bakery or something and you start to feel a bit of like George in you or anything like that? No, he's gone. You left him in the 90s.
In the same way, if you talk to Anthony Hopkins and say, "Do you ever feel any Hannibal Lecter in you?" He'd probably go, "No." No, George was. Listen, I have come to understand that if I didn't in some way understand George. I couldn't have played him.
Yeah.
But George's ego is very different than mine. The way he sees himself fitting and not fitting in the world is very different from how I see myself. His level of frustration and agitation is much higher than mine. His ability to moderate his reactions are much different than mine. So there's never a moment where, you know, I go, ooh, I'm going to be very Georgie now, you know.
And I really believe you, and you know why? Because I think if George got approached to have a photo with him at the Crown Plaza, he would have turned around and said, absolutely not, get out of my face.
Or asked for money.
Or asked for
one of them.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Are there any particular scenes or episodes or storylines that haunt you, that you look back on and think, oh, I wish I'd done something differently?
Oh, all of it. I mean, you know, the curse is a big word. The thing about film is they yell action and you gotta go. You know, here's what I got. I hope this works. Yeah. And then they yell cut and they go, great, let's move on. Yeah. And then the next day you go, you know what I could have done? It isn't an issue for me now because the show is so far behind me. I don't even know what I was thinking at any given moment. Anyway, it's I used to have a little bit harder time watching it back then because of that, of going, oh, maybe I should have done this or that. And now I look at it and go, oh, that's cute.
No, that's it. Do you think that a Seinfeld would work for the iPhone Gen Z generation? If they were to reboot it with 4 new people, would it work in this era, do you think?
To some degrees, I think there's been other iterations of it. I think the one that is most obvious to me that came right after us was something like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yes. To me, has a similar vibe.
Definitely.
To it, you know. And I'm sure there are others. Forgive me, all my colleagues. I don't watch a lot of scripted television these days, but yes, of course, it would look and feel and sound different because there's a different vibe, sensibility, knowledge. People, you know, every generation has its own trademark signature things about them. But yeah, of course.
How often do you talk to the gang? Is there a Seinfeld group chat?
No. I mean, if there is, they've left me out of it. No, it's you know, it's one of those. We don't get to interact all that much. Our lives kind of went in very different directions. I'm actually more in touch with some of the second ring of cast members, like Bryan Cranston's a friend, and Jerry Stiller I loved and adored, Estelle Harris I loved and adored. Patrick Warburton I would see frequently, but Wayne Knight I would see frequently. But when we finished, you know, the central 4 of us, we were each kind of caught up in other things, and we kind of went, okay, see ya. And it wasn't like, let's have dinner, Saturday. So all of a sudden, before you know it, years have gone by, and you go, no, I haven't seen for a while. But
it must be like high school buddies or like college buddies.
Yeah, it's also the kind of thing where, and this has happened many times over the years, if one of us reaches out and go, hey, I'm doing a thing, would you, could you participate in something? It's like, of course. For sure. I've talked to Julia when she has a film coming out. I just was texting back and forth with Michael about his book, which I thought was terrific. So, you know, the contacts are there, but it's not a lot of social chit-chat the way I might have with other friends.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of Wayne Knight, I love your podcast, and I've seen that he's been in a couple of episodes of it. Is that a cathartic experience for you to just be able to sit down and just say what you're thinking, basically? And what's it like for you?
The podcast is interesting because it's not really a celebrity podcast. Wayne was on because it's called Really No Really, and every episode it's a complete, unique, and different thing. The common factor of it is it always starts with something my partner Peter Tilton and I hear about that makes us go, really? Really? What? And then we kind of explore it and we get into it a little more in depth. And if there's a question behind it, we often find out the answer to the question. With Wayne, the thing that we were interested in was Wayne, a couple years after Seinfeld, had, for a variety of reasons, dropped 100 pounds. And he was suddenly, because Wayne's actually a very handsome man. He was a leading man. And he couldn't get a job. So our really there was, I got my life together and nobody wanted me to not be the funny fat guy.
Yeah.
And we wanted to talk about what that experience was.
Yeah.
So that was the window into Wayne. And yes, having those conversations that start with something like that, and then it blossoms into other things.
Yeah.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
I've learned something every episode of the show.
So I saw it pop up on TikTok. That's how I saw it. I was like, oh my God. And then I started listening.
Yeah,
and
that's probably how most people see pieces of podcasts.
Yeah, totally. All right, my last question is a very important one. What is your go-to Uber Eats order?
So I guess a lot of people, from what we do here,
Yeah.
a lot of people Uber Eats like their grocery items.
Yes.
I have never done that.
Yeah.
I Uber Eats a restaurant.
Yeah.
So,
what's
and
your
the
go-to
list
food?
would be a little off the charts.
Yeah.
It's, I'd have to start naming local LA
Yeah.
eateries that I don't know that would mean anything to anybody. But what I love about Uber Eats is I have yet where they go, yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I go, I could like pick any restaurant. I go, well, there's a restaurant on the moon. Can you guys deliver?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Done.
can. It'll
Yeah.
be there. And
Yeah.
It's that network of being able to service anybody where I live from anywhere where the thing is.
Yeah.
I was talking to
incredible.
the CFO today, going, how do you?
Yeah.
This started from the idea of somebody going, I've got a car, I'll give somebody a ride.
Yeah.
I went, how did you build an
Yeah.
empire
And now they're
out
on
of
the
that
moon.
simple idea? And look what it's become. So
Yeah.
I use them,
Yeah. Pretty
I
remarkable.
try, if I shill for a company, I try and make sure I've used the product
believe in
at
it,
least
for
once.
sure, yeah.
And you'll see, if you had my phone, you'd see it's right there.
Yeah, right there.